Hey everyone, Margarita here. I just want to film this video real quick about the Fukushima flush that's been going on for the past couple weeks here. They began flushing the remnants of the Fukushima spill back in August of 2023 into the Pacific Ocean. And what they did is they treated the water first, even though this incident all happened, I don't know, what was it, maybe 13, 14 years ago or so. So they began releasing the wastewater from it because it began to build up over time and they had nowhere to put it. They had to do something with it. They began to treat it and release it into the Pacific Ocean in August of 2023. I did have some serious effects from that. I was a little closer to the water when that occurred. It did take, I do remember it was Labor Day weekend, so it did take a little over a week prior to reaching the Great Lakes here in Michigan, because the Great Lakes are here down the street from where I live, about 5 minutes away. I was closer to the water, like directly on the water, and it really hit me hard, and I had some serious side effects due to my condition. It did take over the oxygen in my body real fast. It did seep right through the open brain tissue, take over my system, cause several serious issues. It was taking over my entire system because it began to flow into my hands, arms, legs, feet. Once that happens, it's taking over my entire system. If it's just in my brain, then that's just the brain portion. But it becomes very life-threatening very fast. So at that time, I did experience effects from it then. Even then, I was driving back and forth between Michigan and Ohio, and even toward more inland, way more inland, and where the border of Michigan and Ohio is, I was experiencing effects in that area as well while driving through that area. So what happens is when they release it and they flush it, it blankets the entire earth because the earth is 75% water. It goes into the Pacific Ocean. All of the water is connected on the earth. And at some point, it takes a week or two, but it eventually reaches all water on the earth. And then there's so much that it spreads and blankets everywhere on the entire earth. Maybe not every inch, but pretty close to it because there's so much water on the earth. But based on my condition, what I've been experiencing this time in that last time in August of 2023, I've spent a lot of time indoors, the majority of the time working on my house. So I do know that this is the 5th time that they've done the flushing for it recently. So this is May of 2025. They did start flushing the 3rd week of April 2025. And it took, because I've been experiencing symptoms for about 2 weeks. So it did take about the same amount of time. I'm a little bit further inland, not much. The water is still only 5 minutes from my house. And same thing, just a little bit different effects. It's not taking over my entire system. But again, I have spent the majority of the time indoors. I did have to do some excessive amounts of running around that I would normally have been doing the last couple weeks. I did notice something was wrong. That's what prompted me to dig more into this. And I knew they were supposed to release numerous batches of the Fukushima rainwater. The release of the excessive amounts of buildup of the radioactive water into the ocean, I was already aware of that from the very first time it happened. So after I had experienced numerous sets of issues, and I have different effects based on what spills, what the contaminants are, if it's a gas, if it's a chemical, depends on what it is. Radiation, they're all different effects than the actual carbon monoxide poisoning that I had. It doesn't matter. I have a problem with all of it because it had broken through my brain tissue, which is still open, and then flooded my entire system. All my cells are initially overloaded with carbon monoxide, still are, and then additional spills and toxins of any kind add to it, causing an additional problem. So each one is a little bit different, but after doing some additional running around that I don't normally do the last couple weeks, I knew something happened. I dug further into it. They did do another release. Turns out this is actually the 5th release. But again, I have spent quite a bit of the time indoors working on the inside of my home. So I very well could have missed a couple of these flushes from between the first one and the 5th one. because I have been, that's basically what I've been doing this entire time. And it depends on the season when they do it as well, and how high up the particles rise. So there's numerous factors involved. But it has been affecting me. It's affecting my ability to film the videos. I did test the air the other day because I knew something was wrong, and that's what fully caused me to figure it out. I just went on the porch for about an hour and filmed some videos out there, and didn't take me long because I had immediate symptoms upon coming in. My son was already having symptoms. I was just trying to pinpoint what it was. Technically, my body's more of like a human detector. I don't really need somebody to tell me. I just have to dig into where it came from. And then it didn't take me long from there once the symptoms settled in for me immediately after. I mean, it was a good thing I did that instead of me going outside to cut the grass like I was initially going to do. Because if I had done that, I probably would have gotten myself really close to death. And when you get all stuffed up in your sinuses, in your head, and your nose, it's really hard to use the hyperbaric oxygen chamber in that manner. You're not supposed to. You can if you're more of a professional using it and you understand it more and you're real familiar with it. It's possible to do. It's not recommended. And it's not comfortable either. So I was trying to refrain from doing it. I was trying to rid it in a different manner first and clear some of it before I got in there. So that's something you really shouldn't do. And it hit me right away. I got prompted to like dig further into it. I figured it out. That is what's been going on for the last 3 weeks or so. Probably in the US about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks maybe. But it is a problem, and there are people around me in the entire general area, and I've been with probably in about a 20-mile radius of here. All of those people I've noticed are experiencing effects, and they don't have a condition. So those people are just experiencing sneezing, sinus issues, probably some type of cough or cold-like symptoms. But with me, my condition's so serious that it goes right through the open brain tissue and loads up. It's a little bit different. Yes, I am experiencing those symptoms, but it's a little bit different. And it takes over my oxygen, takes over my cells with the overloaded carbon monoxide, and then blocks the oxygen from absorbing into my body. So there's numerous problems with me. So it's been a little hard to film some videos. But that's what's been going on. And people don't realize that because they didn't make this public. I was forced to figure it out the first time around when I had some serious issues from it. And I did have like a really close call during that time. Due to other people's ignorance, I did have a really close call because of that, because I have to be able to get away from it and get out of it, and I could not. And at the moment, it became extreme. So I knew initially that looking back on it in 2023, that they were planning on doing about 20 releases total to rid all of the contaminated rainwater that had been building up in the Fukashima area from the initial explosion all those years ago and everything that had happened, even though it's been sitting all this time. They'd planned a couple years ago on beginning to release it in August of 2023. So this was the 5th one, and now there is scheduled to be about 15 more or so. There is a company, I forget the name of it, an agency overseeing all of this, telling everybody it's safe. It's not safe. If I'm experiencing that, I mean, I experience near-death symptoms with very minimal amounts of things. But if everybody else around me and in a 20-mile radius of me is experiencing some type of symptoms, that means it's not safe. And I'm seeing people with no conditions, like, really not feeling well. And the medical system isn't taught any of this, so they just have an influx of patients at the medical facilities nearby or in the general area or wherever it's the heaviest. And, they're not aware of it at all. They just see that they're a little bit busier. Everything's compartmentalized. They don't share this information. They didn't make it public. I'm forced to know these things. I'm forced to have to learn these things in order to keep my son and I alive. And in order to stay a little bit ahead of the game, in order to keep us alive, I'm forced to learn these things in advance and stay up on what's going on with geoengineering, with controlled weather, with all types of spills, chemical spills, gas spills, flushes of any kind, explosions. I'm forced to pay attention to that type of stuff. I don't watch the news. But usually the information does make its way to me one way or another, or it gets sent to me by somebody else who knows I have a condition. So there's numerous people who have sent me things, and I'm able to figure it out real quick. And then at the same time, if it's not, I randomly happen to find the information when it's necessary for me to find. So it does make its way to me when necessary, but it's been pretty rough. It's not safe for the public. They're just telling everybody it is, and they're basically killing off the population, which means it's then not safe to eat sea salt or seafood, which I realized after that first flush, because I had bought some fish shortly after, and I didn't eat it right away. I ate it later down the line, but I got very sick from it. Down the line, I had eaten that similar fish prior. I don't eat much seafood. But since that flush, it wasn't like a normal sickness you would get from eating seafood. This was like radioactive sickness. And I was having other strange symptoms. So, it was definitely from that. So I'm already aware. I mean, the thought process is kind of already there. Any idiot can kind of just think about what that would cause in the oceans, the lakes, the fishes, and everything, all different seafood. And you're going to eat that stuff. Yeah, so you shouldn't be eating any seafood. If they're going to continue to keep flushing this stuff, I wouldn't recommend eating any seafood until a year or two after they're done with the last flush, which there's supposedly about 15 more of these. So I don't know how much longer that's going to take. Maybe 5, 6 years, 7 years, maybe. If they did 5 flushes in a year and a half, I don't know. I wouldn't eat it for about 5 years. And here they are telling the general public this stuff is safe. It's not being released on the news anywhere. I haven't seen anything. Again, I don't watch TV or the news, but it's not made public. But that is what's going on. If normal people with no condition are experiencing what I've seen, versus like what happened to me, I only went outside for a couple minutes after the first time. I was out there for an hour, and it hit me immediately. So it's very severe for me and my son, but we just stay inside when stuff like that happens. This particular chemical, well, it's radiation, liquid, it's turned into something else. I forget what it's called, but it's the radioactive water. It's treated with something and released, and it's released like as something else. Either way, it causes an issue, and it's not safe. I don't care what anybody tells you, even though these agencies are out here saying it's okay and we're just going to release this into the oceans. Okay, so it's contaminating every bit of seafood on our earth that's not man-made in a tank somewhere. It's contaminating all that and the sea salt, and it's contaminating the whole air. This does not last very long. They do tend to make it rain. The geoengineers do tend to make it rain after they do this. Depending on the levels in I don't know who checks this or who's actually in charge of all this. NOAA, I think, plays a role. National Oceanic Atmospheric and whatever that stands for. I do believe they play a role, but there's an agency who checks for it, and then they make it rain based on the amount of particles that they test for after they begin releasing. They still don't flush all of it away. They did make it rain numerous days in a row last week, which did take care of a good portion of it. However, there's still a problem. So I do see there's a couple days of rain coming up. Hopefully that takes care of a significant portion of it. But it does linger for some weeks, or possibly 1 to 2 months is what I noticed after that first one. That was fairly significant. But it doesn't linger as long as all these other spills and explosions that I've experienced. And it also does not get into the home the way some of these other spills I've been through do. There's some spills I've been through and explosions, they don't get into the home as long as the windows are shut and doors are shut. But some do. With the Ford gas spill the Ford plant by my house, it does get through the windows, even with them shut. But there's been other explosions and spills that I've been through, and it does not come into the home. And this is one of those. It doesn't come into the home. You just have to keep everything locked up. But there is still an issue. So I just kind of wanted to let everybody know. I released that on my Facebook page as well, a link to all of that and what's going on with that. But most people probably don't even think about that type of thing, or think it's a problem, or no one's mind thinks as deep as mine, because they're not forced to. They're not dealing with a life-threatening condition where they're forced to dig into these type of things. I didn't have a choice, or we weren't going to live initially, and it's still an ongoing problem. So I'm used to it. It's part of the life modifications. But I can tell you, it isn't safe. There's agencies out here acting like it's safe, but it does dissipate quicker than other things that have spilled. I did notice that. So hopefully only a couple more weeks, and hopefully it's gone, because it is about to get hot out instead of cooler. When it's cooler, it dissipates faster, but now it's getting hotter, so I don't know how that's going to go. Probably take a little longer to dissipate. It takes time to rise up slowly and slowly and slowly up off the earth and off wherever it spreads to. It takes a lot of time, and then eventually rises up out of the atmosphere. But you know, this information isn't public. I just wanted to share it with everybody, because this is one of the things I'm forced to deal with. But yeah, be careful about your seafood. I wouldn't be ordering sea salt, eating sea salt or seafood for until you're aware that all of those flushes have been done for some time. Again, there should be about 15 more coming in the next numerous years coming. I'd say, like, I don't know, I'd say about 5-6 years it should be done. But I would give it some more time after that. I wouldn't eat the seafood. It could permanently contaminate the seafood. I'm not sure that, like, I don't really eat seafood that much, but definitely not now, not with what's going on. And I might actually eliminate salt altogether at this point due to that, because I did notice there was an issue the other day when I put just a little bit too much salt on my mashed potatoes. So I do believe the salt is contaminated, and all of the seafood is contaminated. That is something you would want to look into. Just Google the Fukashima flush. You'll be able to find the information. It's Googleable. So it is out there. It's just they don't let people know that. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I've been kind of struggling and sick from it, and it's kind of put my treatments on a pause, and here I am paying for this rented concentrator I haven't been able to use, and I'm sick trying to film videos. It's not like contagious. It's the particles going into my open brain tissue that are flooding into behind my eyes and my head and my nose and in my sinuses, and just where my brain tissue's open. But that first time I did have a serious issue, it did take over my entire system. And it does go through all of my cells. It is, if I'm taking it enough, if I go out there long enough, it does flood my entire system, and it comes out in buckets of sweat. So that was my first clue. I'm not like that anymore at this point. It just, the lingering effects, because it did rain all those days, it is still kind of like messing with me. But I'm sure it's, like I said, it's messing with other people that don't have a condition that I've noticed as well. So, yeah, I'm like a human spill and explosion detector. So people can't lie to me about that shit. I'm gonna expose so many people and their corrupt actions and what's all gone on here on this planet, and what's going to continue to go on, because most people would never be able to, over 99% of the population would never even be able to notice what I'm talking about. But again, I was forced to learn, or we weren't going to live, and that's why we're still alive. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that with everybody. I'll be back with another one. Thanks. Bye.